Hey team, Yasin here, and in this training we are going to be talking about how to do a practice call. So inside of Module 5, it is no surprise that there are going to be quite a few practice calls. And so inside of this training, we are going to break down step by step the instructions on how you are going to actually be doing all of those practice calls, what is the structure behind it, and all of that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. As always, of course, we are continuing our theme inside of this training about putting your transformation program together. And so the practice calls are going to allow you to actually get the practice in, so that way you understand that when you are working with actual students, you have already gone through what it looks like to coach the 12 coaching calls. So let's go ahead and hop right into this training. As always, we do have the training outline available for future reference. And the very first question that I do want to go ahead and touch on inside of this training is, why is practice important? Okay, because it's very easy for you inside of this module to say, okay, cool, you're providing me all of the documents and all of the templates. It's very easy for me to go ahead and just take this, and I'm just going to go ahead and start coaching and really going out there and providing transformation for students. So why do I even got to practice? And so that's what I want to go ahead and do right now, is take a couple minutes to explain to you why practice is so important. Okay, so if you remember in a previous training, we talked about how the brain actually works. And we talked about how your 5 senses that you use in order to see, hear, touch, smell, and taste things, is that those 5 senses, those 5 sensory organs, are not what the brain actually uses in order to actually hear, taste, smell, and all that kind of stuff, right? Those are only the organs that feed the information and the data into the brain, and then where you actually hear, smell, taste, feel, and see from actually happens from your brain. And we said that that is only one way in order to actually get data from, right? So your sensory organs are just one input way that your brain is able to go ahead and get data from. And we said there are 2 other ways that your brain can also get data from. We said it can get information and data from memory as well as from imagination. So these are the 3 ways that your brain can actually get input, so that way it can process and run the rest of your life, basically, right? And so what this means is that the body does not actually know the difference, the mind doesn't actually know the difference between something that is vividly imagined and something that is real. Think about that for a second, right? Is that sometimes if you watch a scary movie and all of a sudden, you're sitting there inside in your bedroom and you're imagining that there is a monster in the closet. Is there actually a monster in the closet? Probably not. But to your body and to your mind, it feels that it actually is there. And so regardless of if something is there or not, regardless of if you're actually feeling, seeing, touching, or smelling something, just because you vividly imagine it to be there, your brain does not know the difference. And so this is what I'm saying, is that what we're saying is that over here, the mind doesn't know the difference between something that is vividly imagined and something that is real. And so this is where practice is so important. Let me go ahead and explain this to you, because there was a study done in the University of Chicago, and what they did was they took 3 groups of people and they had them practice basketball free throws. If you don't know anything about basketball free throws is basically there's a certain line that you shoot from, and that's what's called a basketball free throw. And so what they had them do, these 3 groups of people, is that in group A, they had the first group practice on the court shooting free throws every day for 30 days straight for 1 hour per day. Group B, they didn't practice at all. And then group C, they had group C not touch the ball, not go to the court. They had them only practicing 1 hour every single day in their imagination and having them imagine in their mind throwing free throws. And then they followed up 30 days later to measure the performance of each of the group between each other. And what did they find? They found that group A, the one that was practicing for 1 hour every single day on the court, actually improved by 24% in their free throws. Group B, obviously, because they didn't practice anything, they did 0% improvement. And then here's the crazy thing. Here's the really crazy thing, is that group C, the group that was only imagining throwing free throws, right, practicing in their mind, was able to improve by 23%. And so group 3 improved only 1% less than those who were actually practicing on the court for 30 days straight. All because of the fact that they were imagining using their mind to practice. Now, that does not mean that you should just sit in the corner and imagine yourself practicing and that is going to be enough. That is one element of it, because psychologically, because free throws have a huge psychological element, that's why it works. But the reason why I'm presenting this to you is for you to understand the power of the mind and the power of practice. Yes, I'm not joking. This is how crazy it is, okay? And so this is why practice is so important, even if the practice that you are doing, like the practice calls that we're going to do inside of this module, even though the practice calls might not be with actual students, what you're doing is you're practicing in your mind and going through the reps. When you're practicing out loud the script, even though you're doing it by yourself, your brain, your mind doesn't actually know the difference. And so that is why I would urge you not to discredit what it is that we are doing here, because if you actually take it seriously, even though it is in a safe environment with other RWA students, the truth is that your brain will not know the difference, but only if you actually take it seriously. And so when you understand this concept, then you will actually be able to get real world practice all within Module 5. This is why the practice calls that we are doing here in Module 5 are so important, is because they are going to allow you to be able to get the reps in and to be able to get the practice in, so that way you can really get an idea of how all of these coaching calls are going to work with your actual practice and paid clients inside of Module 6. Awesome. Now that we've talked about that, the next thing I want to go ahead and talk to you about as we get tactical here is I do want to go ahead and talk to you about the structure of the practice calls. Okay. So the practice calls inside of this module are going to be structured similarly, but also slightly different than what you are used to than what was in Module 4 with the skill session. So unlike with the skill sessions that we had in Module 4, where we had a different partner for every single session, in Module 5 with the practice calls, we're actually going to have the same partner for 3 calls, and then we are going to switch. And so altogether, you are going to have 5 partners throughout Module 5. 5 and 5, if that helps you in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like visually. All right, so for coaching calls 1, 2, and 3, you're going to have the same partner. Okay, so obviously you're not going to do this in one setting or one sitting. You are going to do coaching call number 1, and you're going to practice with that partner, and the partner is going to practice it with you. Okay, and then on a different day, you're going to do coaching call number 2, but with the same partner, and the same partner is going to practice with you. Same thing for 3, and then that is going to be the 3 that you did with that partner. Then for 4, 5, and 6, you are going to have a different partner. You're going to be commenting your availability, finding a new partner, all of that when you start and you look for a partner for coaching call number 4. And then coaching call number 7, because you've already completed your 3 with the partner number 2, you're going to switch again for coaching call number 7, 8, and 9, and you're going to have a third partner. Same thing for 10, 11, 12, you're going to have a fourth partner. And then finally, when you practice your strategy session, you're going to have a fifth partner. So there are going to be 5 different students that you are going to practice with throughout Module 5, and you're going to do 3 calls with each of them, and then you're going to do strategy session by itself with a different partner. So that is how the actual structure of the practice calls is going to look inside of this module. Now, the other question that you might have is, how long will doing all of these practice calls take? This is going to be very important to pay attention to, is that if your schedule permits, our recommendation is to not spend 1 week for each of the practice calls, okay? Even though how you are going to be delivering these coaching calls to your students is going to be 1 call per week, if you were to do that for the practice calls inside of this module, it is going to take you way too long in order to get through all of the practice calls. And so our recommendation is to work with your partner in the program and get 2 to 3 practice calls done per week. Okay, so ideally, if you are able to, you would be able to work with the partner for 1 week, and you'd be able to get through coaching calls 1, 2, and 3, for example, right? And then you get another partner, and then the next week you go through 4, 5, and 6. And so that way you're able to go ahead and knock them out. So remember, it's just a practice call, right? You just need to get through the explanation training. And so you can do them on back-to-back days and really knock out 2 to 3 in a week, no problem, if your schedule permits. Okay, so although we do budget 6 months for you to go through the remote wellness certification, you also don't want to just lose momentum and then take 3 months in order to get through all the practice calls inside of this module, right? And so if you are able to do so, and if your schedule permits, we would highly recommend doing 2 to 3 practice calls per week, okay? And so this is why we recommend 2 to 3 practice calls in a week, so that way you can get done with Module 5 in about 4 to 5 weeks tops. Again, if possible and if your schedule permits. If it is just not possible for your schedule or for your partner's schedule, then that's a different story. The point of this entire note that I'm making here is to give you our recommendation of just doing your best to try and get 2 to 3 practice calls in per week, so that way you can get done with Module 5 in a realistic and proper time frame. Now, on that note, I do want to go ahead and make a very important note as well for judging. Because you will be going through the calls in Module 5 at an accelerated pace, it is important that you don't judge the calls, okay? Is the process that you are going to go through in Module 5 going to be as transformational as it's going to be for your students who are going to have 12 weeks to go through it? No. And the reason for that being is because most of the content that you're going to be coaching on here in Module 5 is not new for you anymore. But I want you to keep in mind and remember how transformational the content that you are learning and the content that you already learned when you were going through it in Module 2 and 3. Do you remember how transformational it was? That is how it's going to be for your students. And so that is the first reason why it's not going to be the same experience. The second reason is that you're going through it at 2 to 3 calls per week versus for your student, it's 12 calls over 12 weeks. And so you are going through it much faster, significantly faster, right? And then on top of that, remember that transformational experience that your student is going to go through is not only going to be the coaching calls, is not only going to be the training. I've said this a gazillion times in other trainings, is that you are not selling coaching calls. Your transformation program, your transformation product is made up of training, community, and support, as well as the synergy that happens when you actually get these 3 pieces together and the intangibles that happen in between that provides that transformation. And so that is the full experience versus here in Module 5, we're only practicing the coaching call. So that is why I say do not judge. Don't be like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be effective. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. Don't judge it. Suspend that judgment because of the fact that it's not actually going to be exactly the same way that your student is going to experience it. Awesome. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop over to the next piece that I want to go ahead and talk to you about is about the documents that you are going to have with every single one of the coaching calls. So with every single one of the 12 coaching calls, there are going to be 5 resources that are going to be provided for you. So we're going to talk about the 5 documents that are going to be provided for you with each coaching call. Okay. So every single coaching call inside of this module is going to have 5 documents. What are those 5 documents? Let's go ahead and talk about that right now. Right. So the first document is going to be the RWA explanation guide. Okay, so this is the guide that goes along with the RWA training that includes the explanation of the call, that goes ahead and includes exactly why the call is structured the way that it is, right? So we're basically explaining the script so that way you have the full explanation. The second document is going to be your coaching call script. So this is going to be essentially the same document as the RWA explanation guide, except it's going to have the explanation removed, right? And this is so that way it's easier for you to print. And that way it's easier for you to be able to handle, right? Otherwise, the explanation guide is significantly longer and you don't want to have to, edit it or change things out or all that kind of stuff, okay? Now, also, very important note, you do not have to follow the script if you don't want to. However, we will address the topic of ditching the script in an upcoming training. So make sure you hold your horses on that and make sure you wait for explanation on that later. The third document that you are going to have pretty much inside of every single coaching call is going to be the coaching call guide. Now, this guide is the one that you can share your screen and show your students during a coaching call. And so this one is really only going to be there whenever there are heavy images involved. So if you can imagine like the blood sugar roller coaster training, right? Imagine and think back inside of Module 3, how beneficial it was to have the images that explain the blood sugar roller coaster. It was very helpful. And so in the same way, we're going to be actually be licensing to you those exact same images. And so when you have those images, that is going to be presented for you inside of your coaching call guide. And so that way during your coaching call, you can share your screen and show those images, right? And so you can kind of think about it. It's kind of like your coaching call script, right? This one, but it's just with the words removed. Okay. So that way it only has the images. So the reason we do that is because in a one-on-one format, you don't want to be giving out a guide the way that we give out guides in our hybrid classroom, right? In our hybrid classroom, our guides have like all of the text and all of everything that I'm saying and literally word for word everything. However, in a one-on-one format, imagine if you were to share your screen and then all of a sudden all the words that you're saying are listed on that document. It's a little bit weird, right? That's why we don't share screen on the coaching call script. That's mainly for you in the one-on-one setting, but then we have a separate document that has the images with all of the script removed, so that way you can actually show that to your student. That's the difference between one-on-one and hybrid, specifically for guides. And then the fourth document that's going to be available for you with every single coaching call is going to be your student's action notes. And so the student's action notes is going to be a document. And what this document is a document that you send to your student 1 to 2 days before the coaching call. So that way they have a physical thing that they can take notes on. And so this coaching call, this action notes, student's action notes document is actually specific to each coaching call. So every single document that you're going to see, a lot of this, I know it's conceptual right now. It's going to make much more sense once you actually get into coaching call 1, 2, 3, 4 and onwards. But what it does is that each action notes document that we're providing for you, that you are then going to give to your student, has the major points for each coaching call on it. And so that way the student just fills in the blanks, and it's very easy for them to take notes during the coaching call and while you're delivering the coaching call. Okay, so that's the document number 4. And then finally, document number 5 is going to be the handouts, activities, or the challenges, if applicable, inside of that coaching call, right? So all of the Google documents related to like energy experiment and all that kind of stuff, right? Whatever is relevant to the coaching call, that is also going to be underneath every single training inside of this module for you to download, so that way you have it saved properly when you are getting ready to coach your students. And so this is a very important note that I want to go ahead and emphasize right now, is that each of these Google documents is going to be shared underneath the appropriate coaching call training inside of this module, okay? So when you get to coaching call 1, all of the documents that are relevant to coaching call number 1 are going to be underneath the training for coaching call number 1, okay? So the link that is going to be provided in the RWA classroom is going to be the template link. Now, I'm going to make this 100% clear. I've said it over and over and over again in previous modules as well. You will not be able to edit the template link, okay? Just like every other resource in the Remote Wellness Academy classroom, you will need to go ahead and make your own copy of each document and save it in your Google Drive folder, okay? And how you do that, you just click on File in the top left and you click Make a Copy. So do not request to edit the main template. We cannot have 1,000 students trying to edit the same template, so just make sure that you make your own copy of those documents and save it in your Google Drive properly. Now, having said that, you're saying, okay, Coach Yasin, it makes sense. You're asking us to go ahead and make sure that we save all of these documents in our Google Drive. But wait a second, how in the world are we actually going to organize our Google documents, right? Because if we do the math, we're talking about a lot of Google documents. How are we actually going to organize all of this so that way we can actually make sure that we are effective and efficient and make sure that everything is organized? Because if you really think about it, right, we said that there's pretty much 5 documents per coaching call, and we said there are 12 coaching calls total, right? So we're talking about 5 times 12, we're talking about 60 documents, right? What in the world? You're probably thinking, you're like, wow, that's a lot of resources. Well, the good news is that on one hand, wow, RWA Remote Wellness Academy is so amazing. They provide me as a student with so many resources for my product, because they were not joking when they said, done for you, copy and paste, click by click, just take it. But then the not so good news is, on the other hand, wow, how in the world am I actually going to stay organized, right? How am I actually going to organize all of these resources? Well, a wise student, great question. That's exactly what I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about right now, is because we're going to go ahead and cut over to a quick mini training that is going to walk you through step by step, click by click, how to actually organize your Google Drive so that throughout this module, you don't end up with this module and being like, wow, I got to pull my head. I'm running around like a headless chicken because I have no idea where any of the documents are. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut over right now to a quick mini training that is going to walk you through on how to make sure you have your Google Drive set up, so that way you are not only successful and set up for success in module 5, but also set up for success on all of the modules and in your upcoming career period. So let's go ahead and cut over to that mini training now. All right, welcome to this quick mini training about Google Drive organization. So first thing I want to go ahead and emphasize from the very beginning of this mini training is that what we're about to talk about right now is so critical. I cannot understate the amount of importance that this step has, because of the fact that you are running an online business. Unlike in a physical environment where you have an office space and you have cabinets and you have folders and you have files, right? You don't have that same physical organization in an online business, right? And so what's going to allow us to be able to have that same file structure, right? Having a cabinet and folders and files, how are we going to be able to stay as organized in our online business and our online careers? The answer to that is Google Drive. And so when you're running an online business, it's so absolutely critical to make sure that you are doing proper due diligence to set up your file structure. And the reason why that's so important is so that way you're setting yourself up for success and not having to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes every single time that you need a document. You're literally going into this crazy crazy madness and this crazy chaos and be like, okay, I got to find this document. I don't know where it is. And so all of a sudden you're stressed out, you're stressed out because the coaching call is about to start. And so you want to make sure that you're properly organized, right? And so we personally have launched, grown, and scaled many online businesses, and we have always used the same structure in every business. And that is what has allowed myself and my team to be able to stay extremely organized as we scale the company, because there's a gazillion other stressors that are involved with having a career and online business, but having to have your files organized should not be one of them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and walk you through what that setup looks like, so that way you are also set up for success indefinitely going forward. So we're going to go ahead and follow step by step with me inside of this mini training. We're going to go ahead and do that together, so that way you understand click by click exactly what that's going to look like. Okay, so the very first thing you're going to do is you are going to go over to your Chrome browser, and you are going to go over to drive.google.com. Drive.google.com is going to take you to your Google Drive account. So you want to make sure that you are logged in with the Google account that you want to use. Okay, so make sure you are logged in with that Google account when you go to that link. So if I go ahead and bring this down a little, you will see what I mean by this when we talk about actually having everything organized properly, right? So right here, you want to go to drive.google.com. That's going to be very important for you, so that way you are getting to your Google Drive folder. Okay, so that's step number one. Step number two is that here on Google Drive, you are probably going to be here under My Drive, okay? You are going to go ahead and create a new folder, and you're going to title it 0. And then your company name or your name or whatever it might be, okay? So this is going to be your main company folder. Now, at this time, at the time of you being inside of this mini training, you don't know what your company name is going to be, because we haven't walked you through that process yet for module 6. But for right now, what you're going to do is you're just going to go ahead and click on new. You're going to click on new folder. You're going to type it 0. Remember, the numbers are very important. 0. And then you're going to say remote wellness practice, right? If you have an idea of what it is that you want to call it, you can put it there. But remember, that's going to change in module 6. It's totally up to you, but you can put remote wellness practice, okay? Then you're going to go ahead and click on create. And then what you're going to do is step number 3 is you're going to go ahead and create the following folders inside of this newly created company folder, right? So you might have, a bunch of other documents here. Maybe it's blank, whatever it might be. That doesn't matter. Okay, you're going to create this folder right here. And then you're going to go ahead and open up this folder. And you're going to go ahead and inside of this blank folder, you're going to create these 4 folders right here. Okay, so the first one's going to be new folder, 0. company operations. Just like that, you're going to create, and then you're going to go over new folder, 1. marketing, create, new folder, 2. sales, and then number 3 right here is going to be product, okay? Boom. That right there is our 4 folders, and that is step number 3 done. Now, you're going to understand why these specific departments later on inside of this program when you understand the anatomy of a business in phase 2. But right now, we're just setting you up for success even later on inside of this program, okay? Next, we're going to go ahead and move on to step number 4. And in step number 4, we're now going to go ahead and create a folder inside of company operations. So you see this folder right here, company operations. I'm going to double click into it. And then now I have a blank folder right here. And in here, I'm going to create a specific folder called 1. learning. Just like that, 1. learning. I'm going to go ahead and click on create. Now, this folder that we just created, this is going to be where you can move all of your Remote Wellness Academy learning material into this folder. So you had My Drive, Remote Wellness Practice, and then you have company operations, and you have learning. If you would like, if that is your preference, you can go ahead and put all of the learning material that you're having inside of this, because it is technically under company operations. Okay, so that is what that looks like. And now we're going to go ahead and move over to step number 5. Let me go ahead and clear the screen here. Is we're going to go ahead and now go back. I can go ahead and click on the main folder, Remote Wellness Practice. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the product folder. So product folder is this one. Click on 3 right there, product folder. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a new folder in here. And this is going to be called coaching calls. Boom, just like that, create. And then what I'm going to do is inside of this folder, I'm now going to go ahead and move over to step 6, and I'm going to go ahead and create these 12 folders inside of this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on new folder. Now, instead of having to type this, I'm just going to go ahead and copy from the document. So that way it saves us time. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and do that. So create, and then new folder, go ahead and boom, create, boom right there. And I'm going to do this really, really quickly. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to go ahead and skip really quickly over and have all these 12 folders, so you're not sitting here with me doing this. However, that is how you're going to be doing it click by click by click, so that way you actually go ahead and create all 12 of these folders. So let me go ahead and do this real quick, and then I'll go ahead and skip and show you what it looks like in the final result. All right, welcome back. So I'm just making the final folder here right now, coaching call number 12. Just making that folder right there. So that is how you're going to do it with the numbers. And then you're going to have coaching call number 1. You're going to make it exactly that way. Okay. So this is the folder view. And then if you were to go ahead and click on this button right here, it's going to show you the list view as well. So let me show you what the list view looks like. Boom. That's what the list view looks like. So these are going to be the 12 folders where you're going to save the documents that you get from every single coaching call. Okay. So throughout this module, there are going to be documents that are going to be presented to you underneath the training. You're going to make a copy of those documents and put them into the relevant folder that is for that specific coaching call. Okay, so that is what that is going to look like now. That is all 12 coaching calls. You now gone ahead and have all the folders that you need that will set you up for success. You have your company folder, company operations, marketing, sales, and product. Inside of company operations, you have your learning folder, and then you have inside of product coaching calls, you now have all 12 coaching calls. Step number 7, what you're going to do is you are now going to go ahead and bookmark the main company folder to your bookmarks tab. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so what you do is right over here, you're going to go ahead and click on this star button. And what this star button is going to do, and actually let me make sure first, I want to make sure that I'm in the company folder. So I want to make sure I'm in the company folder, which is right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the star button. And the star button is going to go ahead and save that main Google Drive folder to my bookmarks bar. And so when this is saved in my bookmarks bar, of course, I can go ahead right here and name it whatever I want. I could call it like, RWP folder right here. I'm going to put folder. I'm just going to put bookmarks bar. So that way it shows up on the main bar. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on done. And then obviously you'll see right here, this is a test account that I just randomly have laying around, but that's why I'm doing this. But I'll show you on here, if you want to turn on sync, you can go ahead and turn on sync there as well. That's totally up to you. Okay, so that's what that looks like there. And then once it's actually there, you can go ahead and click on the 3 dots, click on bookmarks, and then click on right here, show bookmarks bar. And then just like that, it's going to show you, boom, I have my RWP folder. So it doesn't matter where I am, right? Even if I'm like here, I just click on RWP folder and boom, it'll take me directly into my company folder, and I have my product. And then if you really want, you could even bookmark the coaching calls one here. So you could say, coaching call docs, put it on the bookmarks tab, boom, done. And you see right there, I got the coaching call doc. So that is going to be where you actually bookmark everything. And then finally over here with step number 8, you're going to go ahead and make sure that you obsessively and compulsively have the habit to save every single file inside of your entire organization into the appropriate Google Drive folder. This is so absolutely critical. I cannot tell you how important this is, because an organization equals organized. It's literally what the word means. This is the same organizational setup and structure, the one that you're seeing here right now, that we have used in all of our companies, whether we have scaled to 7 figures, which is $1 million a year, or 8 figures, which is $10 million a year. Whenever we start the company, from the very beginning, we go ahead and set up this file structure. And so that way, it doesn't matter if you're doing $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month. It's the same organizational structure that is going to help you scale. And so if you don't properly organize your files in your online business, I'm telling you right now, you're going to run around like a headless chicken as an absolute madman or mad woman. Okay, so this is absolutely critical. Make sure it's in the action steps of this training. Make sure you actually do it properly and get it set up, so that way throughout the rest of this module, you have a place to be able to put all of the documents that we actually give you. And so with that being said, that has been the mini training on actually setting up your Google Drive and the entire organization for it. And we're going to go ahead and hop right back over to the main training. All right, welcome back from that mini training about the Google Drive organization. As I said inside of that mini training, it is so absolutely critical that you make sure that after you complete this training in full, you do make sure you go ahead and set up that Google Drive properly. It is going to be one of your critical action steps inside of this training. It's going to be a game changer for you when you actually do it properly and get it set up properly as well. Beautiful. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop over next to the next topic I want to go ahead and talk to you about, which is another question that students might have at this point, which is, wait a second. You're giving me all of these resources. You're giving me all of this IP, all of this intellectual property. Am I legally allowed to be able to use this, right? Because Coach Yasin, you've made a big deal about this whole license thing, right? You're using scary concepts like copyright infringement and intellectual property theft. I get it. In the online coaching space, in the online education space, theft is extremely common. So you're protecting Remote Wellness Academy. You're protecting RWA from that. But how do I actually protect myself as a student to make sure that I am doing everything legally as well? Again, you're on a roll here. Great question, oh wise student. So the answer is that this is where we are going to help make sure that if anything were to happen, you are protected as the student. We want to make sure that no one ever questions you or your permission to use the content that we provide no matter what. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by giving you an actual signed licensing agreement, okay? This is what's going to allow you and help ensure that everything is in writing. And so if any question were to ever come up from all the material that we are providing you, you would be protected. And so this is very important because copyright infringement and intellectual property theft, those are big deals. And we want to make sure that no one gets in trouble, okay? So no one can ever come to you and say, oh, you're using the same content as RWA, you're doing something that's illegal. Because what you do is you just, boom, pull out your licensing agreement and you prove it to them right there and then, no, I am protected, I'm doing this legally, everything is covered, okay? So what we have gone ahead and done is we've gone ahead and created an action step in this training to a very special agreement that is only valid for active RWA students who have a signed active Remote Wellness Academy student agreement. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when you actually get to that link. It's going to be inside of the action steps of this specific training. You don't go there right now. You can do it after you get through this training in full, but it's going to be at remotewellnessacademy.com/M5 license. M stands for module, 5 is module 5. So M5 license. And so what's going to happen is that after you get through this training in full, all you're going to do is you're going to go to that link that is located in the action steps, and you're just going to enter in your first name, your last name, your email address, and then you just go ahead and sign. Obviously, you can read through the agreement, and that is obviously highly recommended before you sign anything. But make sure that you go ahead and get that completed, because what's going to happen is that within just a few minutes, you will have inside of your email a PDF copy of your license. Okay, so that's going to be emailed to you, and that is going to be your proof that you are legally allowed to use these documents that we are providing you in Module 5 for your business for income purposes. This is very, very, very important because of the fact that not only is theft and intellectual property theft extremely common in online businesses, but on top of that, a lot of people will come in and sue each other and do all this stuff and say, oh, copyright infringement, you owe me royalties because you use this content for income purposes. We don't want you to have to ever get into issues with that. And so that way you are protected and you can use all of the images that we provide for you specifically in Module 5 for income purposes, and that way you're protected. Okay, so the other point I want to go ahead and mention about this is that if you have any questions about this, make sure you do go ahead and reach out to our support team at support@remotewellnessacademy.com, or you can go ahead and use the small green chat icon on the bottom right of your classroom when it is available, and you can just go ahead and type in there, and then you can go ahead and click, I believe, like contact us in there. Sometimes the verbiage changes, and then it'll allow you to go ahead and contact the support team through that widget as well. Okay, so bottom line from all of this is that we told you we'd take care of you, and we were not joking. Okay, so copy and paste, click by click, this is your license to the done for you 90-day transformation program with everything you need. Boom. You're welcome, okay? And so that's going to be very important for you to go ahead and get that taken care of, so that way all of the images and everything, you are protected throughout Module 5. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's go ahead and keep on chugging through this training, and let's go ahead and next talk about the next topic, which is going to be how to actually do a practice call. And so what we're going to do is, for the rest of this specific training, we are going to go through step by step everything you need to do and everything you need to know, so that way you can complete the practice calls in this module. Now, I do want to go ahead and urge you here is that this is going to be different and slightly different than the skill session. And so even though some of it is going to sound and seem familiar, I would urge you not to skip ahead because you think you know this already, because there's going to be quite a few differences and changes compared to the skill session. And so you want to make sure that you stick through this part of the training as well. And so unlike the skill session where there was a little bit fewer steps, here for doing a practice call, we're actually going to have a total of 10 steps. Okay, so let's go ahead and walk through each of those steps in detail, so that way you know exactly how to complete the practice call. So step number 1 is going to be to invest into Zoom. So for Module 5, we are going to continue using Zoom the same way that we did for the previous module. However, there is going to be one big difference. Because our calls here in Module 5 are going to be longer than 40 minutes, that does mean that we are going to have to take the step to go ahead and invest into a pro Zoom account. Now you might be wondering, Why? What happened? What changed? Well, what happened was that in 2020, in March of 2020, when the pandemic hit, when the COVID pandemic actually hit, what happened was that Zoom removed the limitation of 40 minutes on free plans. And they did that in order to facilitate communication. You know, the world was basically blowing up at that time and everything was going crazy, right? So they did that in 2020, and it was unknown how long basically the unlimited access for free accounts was going to last. Some people said maybe it's going to last indefinitely. They weren't sure. But then it was announced 2 years later that Zoom was going to now reinstate the 40-minute time limit for free accounts. You can see here July 15th, 2022 is when they went ahead and reinstated the 40-minute time limit for free accounts. And they probably did that because their stock price had dropped again after the pandemic and they needed to make money. And so that's why they went ahead and went back to that. So software companies change their pricing structures around all the time. And so at the time of recording this training, the 40-minute time limit for the free Zoom accounts is still in place. And so what that means is that if you have a free Zoom account, that your Zoom account is going to time out after 40 minutes. It does not matter if you're only in a one-on-one meeting or in a group meeting, it does not matter. 40 minutes is going to be the cutoff time for Zoom meetings that are on the free account. Now, unless you want to go ahead and have like a 40-minute blockage in the middle of your meeting and then you got to go ahead and start another meeting and restart it from there, you can do that indefinitely. However, it is going to be an inconvenience. Your recording is going to get chopped up and it's not going to be the best thing, right? And so what that means is that you will go ahead and need to invest into upgrading to a Zoom Pro plan. Not a big deal, right? So it's going to be $14.99 a month, which is not terrible for literally the software that you're going to use to literally connect to every single student in your remote wellness practice, as well as what you're going to be using for your strategy sessions, your sales calls, and all that kind of stuff, right? Not terrible. Yes and no. Personally, I am not a fan of when starting a new career or business, signing up to subscriptions that are not absolutely critical. I am not a fan of this, right? I prefer to have cash flow into the income source or the income business opportunity. And then that way we can go ahead and invest into softwares and subscriptions that are going to be important for the income source, right? Now, what we've done here at Remote Wellness Academy is that we have gone ahead and tried every single way that we can possibly think of in order to get around this. Because I understand, hey, in Module 5, you haven't yet started getting new students. And so you're like, wait, I agree with you, Yasin. I don't want to have to, even if it is only $15, invest in a software that I don't have income coming in just yet. I'm 100% with you, right? And so that's why we went ahead and looked at all of the alternatives that actually exist that are alternative to Zoom that would allow you to be able to have a remote meeting and still allow you to record. We even looked into alternatives like Google Meet. We looked into Skype. We looked into Microsoft Teams. And the crazy thing is that this exact training, the training that you are going through right now, the funny thing about it is that we actually recorded this entire training with the idea that you guys were actually going to be using Google Meet. I'm not joking. Inside of this specific training, you're going to notice later on inside of the training that there's going to be mentions of Google Meet. Where did that come from? It came because at the time of recording this training, Google Meet was 100% free, unlimited, and then they decided to change their pricing structure on us as well. And so unfortunately, really, we have not been able to find a solution around this. And so just as a heads up, if you do see mention of Google Meet inside of this document or inside of this recording or inside of this training later on, you will understand why is because of the fact that we actually were looking for a free alternative for you other than Zoom. And then all of a sudden, Zoom and Google Meet changed their pricing structure and we had to re-record everything from there, okay? And so that is what I wanted to go ahead and mention to you is that we've really done our best to try and find an alternative that would allow you to get the job done. And there simply is not an alternative right now that we have been able to find, okay? And so that's what we're talking about here because for some students, $15 is not going to be a big deal, right? $15 is what? 50 cents a day. And so what I always recommend for students is, hey, just don't buy Starbucks 3 times this month and make coffee at home instead. And that's your Zoom subscription paid for. Find 2 quarters on the street every day, and that's your Zoom subscription paid for, okay? And so that's why I say that I understand it's $15 that is going to be for the entire month, but is the software, right? 50 cents a day for the software that is going to allow you to connect to any student on the planet and be able to build your remote wellness empire that makes you $10,000 a month remotely, all for 50 cents a day. Isn't it worth it, right? And so that's why I'm going to go ahead and I'm really talking to you about this, because I want you to understand that, hey, this is the first time that you're investing into your remote wellness practice, and it is going to be an investment that pays massive dividends over the long term. And that is why investing into Zoom is going to be the first step of being able to do your practice calls here inside of Module 5. Now, for some students, that's not a big deal. You're like, hey, Coach Yasin, don't even sweat it. Don't even know why you're mentioning it. Not a big deal. We'll do it. No problem. But then some students might be like, wait a second, Coach Yasin, didn't you say that we don't have to pay for anything, right? No, that's not what we said. We said that we were going to help with all of the softwares involved with setting up the entire proven, repeatable process, right? So all of the softwares that are involved here, and all of this is going to be shown to you in Module 6. We said that we are going to pay for these softwares because you are an RWA student that is active. What are those softwares and what is the list of those softwares? Email marketing software, SMS marketing software, sales funnel software, website builder software, website hosting software, call tracking software, survey and form software, booking and appointment software, customer, student, and contact CRM manager software, sales pipeline management software, course and classroom software, workflow automation software, social media planner software, payment terminal software, payment processor software, ads data tracking and ads reporting software, and a number of other softwares that other online business owners have to pay over $1,000 a month for all of these softwares in order to run their business and their income, right? And so those are the softwares that we have thus far been able to work with the manufacturers of those softwares to be able to pay for you as a Remote Wellness Academy student. However, we have not yet been able to create a partnership with Zoom, the company, yet. And guess what? That is probably for good reason, because if you search up how big is Zoom on Google, you will see they have over 2,500 employees and they do over $3 billion in revenue. So what are the chances that they're going to want to partner with the Remote Wellness Academy right now? Probably not a lot, right? And so right now, there is simply no way yet that we have been able to find to be able to create a partnership with Zoom to be able to help take care of your subscription. I'm sorry. We've tried our best and we are still doing our best. If you have a solution for us, we're open to suggestions. Please let us know, okay? And so ultimately, this is what I want to go ahead and say as we go ahead and talk about this preparation for your practice calls, is that if you are one of those students who has decided after this first step not to be a remote wellness practitioner because $15 a month is going to take away food from your family every night and is going to put you on the street, then please, please, please email our support team at support@remotewellnessacademy.com and we will try to figure something out for you, because quite frankly, this career right now might not be the best for you if you are in that situation, and we will talk to you about other options if that is the situation that you are in. Okay, that is the option for you. But for all the other students who are in the position to understand that $15 a month is the investment that will allow you to operate your remote wellness practice, then the first step of Module 5 and doing the practice calls is going to be for you to upgrade your account to Pro. Now, how to do that is very simple. Number one, you're going to go ahead and log into zoom.us. Number two, once you actually log into your account, you're going to go ahead and click on Account Management and then Billing, and then click on Upgrade Your Account. And so visually, this is what it is going to look like. So once you actually go to zoom.us and you log into your account, okay, on the left side, you're going to go ahead and click on Account Management. And then underneath Account Management, you're going to click on Billing. And then you're going to go ahead and click on this orange button right here that says Upgrade Account, okay? Now, after you click on that, it is going to take you over to a page that looks like this. Now, we recommend signing up for month to month, so be careful not to sign up to the annual, even though when you get to this page, annual is going to be the default one because Zoom wants you to sign up for annual. We recommend do not do that. Make sure you are extremely, extremely careful to go ahead and click on the monthly. Okay, so that way it's better to go ahead and prove that you're going to be using Zoom consistently for a long period of time instead of paying $150 or $160 or whatever it is. Even though there is a slight savings of 17%, it's better to just pay for it monthly. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to come over here and you're going to pay for it $15 per month. Okay, and then you are going to have just one license. You're going to make sure that you are on Pro, not Business. You're going to go ahead and click on Monthly. Personal or business use does not matter. And then additional options, none. Make sure you don't click on any of those. And then you click on continue and you go from there. Okay, so that is going to be the first step here as you start to go ahead and set yourself up for the practice calls, is to go ahead and invest in Zoom. So that way you are able to have meetings that are longer than 40 minutes and use them in the way that you've been able to do it so far with the skills session. Beautiful. Now, with that being said, we are going to go ahead and move now over to step number 2, which is all about commenting on the calls student community post. Let's go ahead and talk about that right now. Now, I want to go ahead and make something very clear that you are going to hear me say a gazillion and 2 times that is going to be literally tattooed into the inside of your brain because of the fact that I want to go ahead and emphasize this, okay? You will only be commenting your availability on the student community post for specific calls. And those calls are going to be for calls number 1, 4, 7, 10, and the strategy session. Why? Because you don't need to comment your availability for the other calls because you're going to have the same partner. So what do I mean by this? Coaching call number 1, 4, 7, 10, and strategy session. Why do you have to comment your availability on those specific student community posts? Because those are the calls in which you need to find your partner. And so once you find your partner, there's no reason for you to comment your availability on coaching call 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 or 8 or 9 or 11 or 12 because you already have the same partner. You guys can communicate through Messenger. You already have the direct line with them. You can just decide what time you want to meet. It's very easy to do. And so that's why for these other coaching calls, you will not comment your availability. And so this step number 2, where we say comment on the call student community post with your availability, only applies to 1, 4, 7, 10, and the strategy session. I hope that is absolutely clear. Make sure you let us know if you have any questions about this, but I do want to go ahead and emphasize that this step number 2 about commenting your availability is only for specific calls, okay? So on those specific calls, 1, 4, 7, 10, and strategy session, what you're going to be doing exactly the same way that we did it for the skills session, you're going to be commenting, hey, RWA family, I'm in da-da-da-da-da. This is my availability. Okay, so that's going to be 1. You're going to comment your availability on those specific coaching calls. Number 2, you're going to reply to another student's availability. Okay, just the same exact way that we did for the skill session. Okay, make sure you do go ahead and tag them. Number 1, very important. Make sure you do go ahead and send them a friend request and then a direct message. Just remember that if you do send a direct message to someone who is not your friend, it is going to go to the message requests folder. So make sure you are cognizant of that. And then remember, every 3 calls, you're going to be switching partners. Okay, so you're going to have partner number 1 for calls 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to have partner number 2 for 4, 5, 6. Partner number 3 for 7, 8, 9. Partner number 4 for 10, 11, 12. And then you're going to have your 5th partner for the strategy session practice call. Okay, so just remember that every 3 calls you are going to be switching partners because that's going to allow you to be able to get exposure to as many different people as possible. Okay, and then of course, if you still don't have a partner after 2 or 3 days on those specific calls, make sure you do go ahead and reply to the comment and then follow up with them. Make sure you do go ahead and have grace. Sometimes students aren't monitoring the student community 24/7. Don't get hung bent on a specific student. Go ahead and comment a few different people so that way you can get a partner. And then at the end of the day, just don't get stuck here, right? Make sure that you are able to go ahead and continue with the other trainings, go back through other different modules and study previous trainings as well. Just don't get hung bent on this. Just make sure you do find a partner so that way you can continue with the program, okay? So that is going to be step number 2, which is commenting on the calls student community post with your availability. That is only specific to certain coaching calls, okay? And then step number 3 is going to be about the DM conversation and scheduling. So let's go ahead and talk about that right now. Direct message conversation and scheduling. So again, this only applies to call 1, 4, 7, 10, and strategy session because you will not be needing a new partner for all of the other ones. Only for those beginning ones you're going to need, okay? And so then, once you get in contact with the student via Messenger, what you're going to do is the following. Number 1, you're going to schedule a time for your practice call. Number 2, you are going to exchange Zoom links, okay? And then number 3, you are going to decide who's going to be the coach first. Why are you going to decide that? Because you are going to be meeting on their Zoom link first, because remember, the RWP is the one who owns the Zoom link. Whoever Zoom link it is, that is the person who is the RWP, okay? Now, a couple notes in terms of professionalism with the DM conversations. Number 1, be professional, show up, communicate, and this is your reputation as an RWP, okay? So this is not hanging out with your best buds or best girlfriends on a Saturday night. This is a professional interaction, and so you want to show up like it is. And so if you're going to be late, if something came up, you're not able to show up, communicate, because at the end of the day, this is your reputation. And so if you cannot even deal with other students in the academy in a professional manner, what do you think is going to happen when you are dealing with other people who are strangers who are actually paying you money? And so you want to make sure that you are showing up in the most professional way possible, because this is your reputation and this is showing who you are and who you are becoming in this process as a remote wellness practitioner. And so that is going to be step number 3, and how to do step number 3, which was the DM conversation and scheduling. Again, only specific to certain calls in which you are going to actually be meeting with a new partner. For the rest of them, you already have access to your partner that you've already been partnering for the other calls, and so that way you'll be able to message them. Okay, so that's step 3. Number 4 now is going to be about doing the practice call. Let's go ahead and talk about that right now, doing the practice call. So like I've talked to you about in previous trainings about the skill session and XYZ is that getting familiar with Zoom and understanding how Zoom works is going to be your bread and butter inside of your remote wellness practice. This is why we said that it is not a light decision, that it is in fact an investment for you to make into Zoom, because Zoom is going to be your bread and butter throughout your entire remote wellness practice. Tools like Zoom are what frees up your ability to work with anyone in the entire world. These are the tools that allow you to be able to travel while also making $10,000 a month. And so it's absolutely worth learning and is absolutely worth investing in, because this is what allows you to not be constricted to your geographic location. This is why for the history of business, people were unable to get past a certain income cap. And so if you lived in a small town, guess what? You were constrained to the people to work with inside of that small town. But because of tools like Zoom, in which you're only having to invest $15 a month, you are free to work with anybody in any country across the entire world. How insane is that? And so is that not worth an investment? Is that not worth learning? Of course, the answer is obvious, right? And so what we're going to go ahead and do right now is we're going to go ahead and cut over to a quick mini training. This is a quick mini training that you are already familiar with, but I do want to go ahead and include it inside of this specific training as well on how to actually use Zoom and the ins and outs of it. So that way you can get familiar with it if you need it. If not, you can just go ahead and skip a few minutes ahead. Don't skip too far, because remember, even though a lot of this seems familiar, there are slight nuances that are going to be specific to practice calls that you do not want to miss. So make sure that you stick around, and then I'm just going ahead and including that in here. It's going to be the same mini training as a skill session, but I do want to go ahead and include it in here for students who might need the repetition or the exposure or the experience to that. So let's go ahead and cut over to that mini training now. All right, welcome to this quick mini training about Zoom and how to use Zoom and all of the details around Zoom. So first and foremost, as we go ahead and hop into this, I got a couple points. Number one, you want to make sure that you go ahead and download Zoom on your computer. This is going to be a computer thing. You want to make sure that you are setting yourself up in the environment in which you are actually going to be doing your sessions. I would strongly advise against doing this on your phone. It's not professional. It doesn't look very good. I would highly recommend that you do this on your computer. So what you want to do is you want to download Zoom on your computer. Yes, you can download it on your phone, the Zoom app, just in case for, emergencies or something, but primarily you want to download it on your computer. So you're going to follow this link that is inside of the guide, or you can just Google download Zoom, and then it's going to take you over to a download center. And then that way you can go ahead and download Zoom onto your computer. Okay. That's going to be very important for you to do. So that way you can go through all of the settings that I'm going to go ahead and walk you through. Next up, let's go ahead and actually open up the Zoom software and show you what this actually looks like. But before I do that, I want to walk you through what it looks like on the browser. Okay, so if I go over here to the actual settings and you go over to my account, you're going to see it's going to take you over here. And then like we were talking about inside of the training, this is your personal meeting ID. And then if you click on this eyelash, I'm not going to click it because I don't want everybody to know what the personal meeting ID for this is, the one that I'm using, because it's my personal one. But the point being is that when you click it on your end, it's going to show you this link. And then this is the way that I actually go ahead and get into my Zoom account. So what I do is I actually copy this link. Again, you got to make sure you click on this eyelash icon and then copy your link. But what you do is you copy this link right here. And then when you have this account downloaded on here, when you have this software downloaded, what I usually do is I just open up a browser tab and I go ahead and literally just paste it there. And then from there, it goes ahead and opens that Zoom client meeting up. Okay, so that's one way that you can do it. You can also open up the software and go from there. Let us know if you have any questions on how to actually get into your Zoom meeting, but it's pretty straightforward. If you have difficulty doing it, you can go ahead and let us know, or you can be resourceful and Google it and YouTube it, and there's a gazillion ways that'll show you how to do that. Okay, now let's go ahead and open up this and show you what this looks like on here. So this is what it looks like when you're on the Zoom meeting right here. Okay, now a couple points on here. I'm gonna just go ahead and make it a little bit bigger so you can see. Okay, couple points on here. You'll see at the bottom left right now I am muted on it. Let me see if I can get this to show up right there. So right now I'm muted because obviously I'm recording this training, but obviously you will not be muted. This is the button that you can use to unmute yourself. This is the button you can use in order to start your video. Okay, so next up on here, security. I don't know what it does. I don't really ever use it. Participants. When you click on this, it is going to go ahead and open up a panel. And then in this panel is going to show you all of the participants. Okay. And then here, when you put your mouse over a participant, you click on more, you'll see that when you're the host, you can only rename yourself. So if you have a name that's on there, you got to rename yourself. You can do that there. You can unmute yourself. And then when somebody joins using your link, they're going to show up here under participants. And then you're going to have to let them into the room. Okay. This is very important to understand, is that they're going to show up right here, and it's going to say XYZ is in your meeting room. And then it's going to say, go ahead and accept them and approve them into your meeting room. That's very important. You need to understand that, okay? At the bottom here, you can see there's an invite link, there's a mute all, and there's a more button link. The more button link, let me see if I can collapse this for you guys. There we go. More. So ask all to mute. There's a bunch of entries on here. Mute all upon entry, lock meeting, unmute themselves, rename, start video. There's a whole bunch of different settings on here that you can play with. Okay. So that is the participants tab and how all of that works. Next up, after that, we then have the chat box right here. So we go ahead and click on chat, and that's going to go ahead and open up the chat on here. So you can see here we have the participants open. We can close the participants. We can open the participants right here. And then we have our chat right here. You can go ahead and chat between whoever's inside of the actual meeting. From there, if we close the chat, you'll see that there's a share screen on here. You can go ahead and share your screen. Once you actually do that, you'll see that we have all of these windows open. You can go ahead and select either to share the whole desktop or to share a specific window right here. That is exactly how that is going to work. Okay. Next up, after that, if you needed to actually give share screen permissions to somebody else who's in your meeting room. So right now, only the host can share their screen. Okay. If you wanted to have somebody who's in the meeting room share their screen, you click on this little arrow right here, and then you would click on advanced share options, and you'll see here it gives you who can share, all participants, right? And then it gives you a bunch of different options on here for sharing, right? So that's that. Then here, record. This is very important. When you click on record, there may be two options depending on what plan you have for Zoom. Record on this computer or record to the cloud. If you have the free account, you will have to record on this computer, and I'm going to show you where the location for that is going to go to, okay? If you have a pro account, then you can record in the cloud as well, and they give you like a gigabyte of free storage in the cloud, okay? Reactions, I never really use it, but it's available there. More, if you wanted to live stream, if you have that option on the pro account, that is all under more, okay? And then obviously the end button in order for you to leave or end a meeting, okay? So all of that is there. Couple other points on here. If you click on this little meeting information button here at the top left, right over here, let me see if I can get that to show up for you. There we go. Right over there. If you click on that, that is actually going to go ahead and open this up. And then over here, you can go ahead and copy link, and then you can share that link and give it to people if they need to join this meeting, XYZ. That is how you would do that, okay? Now, let's go ahead and go into the settings. This is going to be very, very, very important. Now, if I go ahead and click on this little icon right here, this caret arrow icon, and then let's say, for example, I go over to video settings. If I go over to video settings, you'll see there's a general settings. And then to go ahead, you can see there's a whole bunch of settings. You can read through that. You can see, you know, the theme I want to use, the reactions that you want to use, the color of the reactions, all of that kind of stuff. That's this. And then if I go over video, obviously because I'm recording, my video is not showing, but you can switch between the different cameras that you might have. If you have a little bit more of an advanced camera, it's going to give you some more options. If you're just using your webcam on your laptop, some of these options may not be available for you, but you can go through and look at all of these different options that are available on here specifically for your video. Okay. Then audio, you can select your audio source on here as well. You can see it's recording for me. That's why it's going ahead and giving me all of this pulsing on here, but you can check, hey, this is the speaker I want to use. This is the mic I want to use. All of the mic and audio settings are located here. Okay. Share screen, all of the share screen permissions and all the settings for that are located here. I'm not going to go through all of them specifically, but you can go ahead and pause, or you can look at yours and read through that. Background and effects. This is where you can actually go ahead. You see, I have a whole bunch of different ones on here. You can actually mess around with different virtual backgrounds as well. All of that is available for you. You can mess around with your recording settings as well. All of that is available for you as well. Now, listen to this very carefully. Store my recordings at. This is going to be where your recordings are going to be stored. Not specifically what's on my screen, but whatever is on your screen specifically. Let me see if I can actually make this bigger. It doesn't look like I can make it bigger for you, unfortunately. But what you can do is you can click on open, and then you can change the recording location storage on your computer if you would like, okay? And then you can mess around with the recording settings on here also. Very, very, very important, okay? Next up, statistics. I don't really know what this is all about, but all of that is there. Feedback, keyboard shortcuts, accessibility, okay? All of that is there. You can mess around with the font size and all that kind of stuff, okay? That is going to be very important. Let me go over here, make sure we hit everything. How to record, we talked about cloud versus local. Free accounts only have local storage, very important. We talked about the local recording computer location inside of the settings. This is the second, the I don't know, 1, 2, 3, fourth thing that is very important. Recording in gallery view versus speaker view. This is very important to understand, is that when you click on view at the top right here, let me go ahead and see if I can get it on here. right here, because it disappears right here, right? If you click on view, there's going to be speaker view, gallery view, immersive view, show non-video participants, and full screen. You want to make sure that you are in gallery view because this is how local recordings work, okay? On local recordings, what it is doing is it's recording whatever you are showing, okay? And so what's happening is that if you're in speaker view, it is going to show on the main screen here, it is going to show whoever is speaking. It's not going to record the person who is not speaking. And so in other words, what that means is that, for example, if your student is talking, you are going to be off screen and then it's not going to show you inside of the screen. It's not going to show you inside of the recording, okay? However, if you go ahead and switch this to gallery view, when you switch this to gallery view, obviously nothing happens because nobody's in the meeting with me right now, but when others are in the meeting with me and I have my video on, what it's going to do is it's going to show my video and it's going to show the other person's video side by side, or it's going to show everybody in the meeting and it's going to show them in a gallery. When you have the gallery view, it's going to record everyone in the meeting. And so you can mess around with this. Let's say, for example, you don't want to be on the recording for a second, you switch over to speaker view, and then you want to be on the recording, you switch it to gallery view. However, for the sake of the skill sessions, I recommend that both you and the person, your partner, are on the recording at all times. And so I would highly recommend that make sure when you actually do the recording, right? Let's go ahead and click on record on this computer. When I actually, because I'm muted, I'm gonna record without audio. Yes, no problem. Now, when I'm recording, you see how the recording is started. I wanna make sure that I am in gallery view so that way it records me and the other person, everybody in the meeting right now. It's going to record everybody, even if I'm not talking. So that way I'm always in the video. So that way I don't accidentally make a mistake and only record speaker view. That's number one. Number two, sometimes when there are other people inside of the meeting, you can actually pin somebody so that way they show up on the main screen. You want to be careful because let's say, for example, you actually pin your student and you pin them. And so that way the student is the one that's showing up on here. Even if you are in gallery view, but the person is pinned, they are the only one that's going to show up in the recording. So even if you're talking, even if you're doing everything, you're interacting, you won't show up in the recording. This is very important to understand. Immersive, I've never really used immersive. There's all this like 3D text stuff that they're trying to mess around with, but speaker and gallery view, you have to know the difference between the two. It's very, very, very important. And that is the recording that is going, and then you can just stop the recording there, okay? Let's go ahead, and we talked about virtual backgrounds. Very important, have good lighting. Don't be creepy sitting in a dark room, not being able to show your face. You want to make sure you have good audio. Be respectful, right? Don't be somewhere in like a noisy coffee shop or under a waterfall or like in a construction site or something like that. You want to go ahead and you can use your laptop audio, or you can use headphones. Should be fine. You don't have to get a mic or anything like that, but you just want to make sure you have good audio, make sure that you have good lighting. If you make sure your camera works, make sure you test everything out so that way you aren't wasting time. You aren't wasting the other students' time when you are going through this process. Very, very, very important. Okay. So that is how Zoom works. That is how all of the ins and outs of Zoom works. I'm sure there might be some stuff that are more advanced. If you do have any questions around Zoom, let us know, or you can be resourceful, and Zoom has amazing support. They have amazing help docs. They have YouTube, Google, literally just Google anything and you'll be able to find how to be able to use it on Zoom. But if you're really stuck, go ahead and let us know. We can go ahead and help you. But ultimately, I would highly recommend using Google because literally every answer is on Google. Just Google it and I promise you'll find the answer. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and hop back over to the main training now that we actually know the ins and outs of Zoom. All right, welcome back. So how to conduct the practice call, right? So we've gone ahead and talked about Zoom and getting familiar with Zoom. Now, in terms of actually conducting the practice call, what's going to happen is that exactly the same way we did the skill session, the one who is the RWP coach, you are going to be meeting on their Zoom link first. Do not forget to start recording, absolutely critical. Number 3 is that you are going to start going through the coaching call script. And then number 4, you are going to take notes on the notes for student coaching call template that we provide, okay? So what's going to happen is that the person who's Zoom link it is, the RWP, is going to be using the notes template that we provide that I'll talk to you about here in a second. And then they're going to be taking notes on the student who is their partner, okay? And then once the first RWP finishes going through their script and they go through the entire thing, okay, then you're going to switch Zoom links. And then what you're going to do is you're going to end the first meeting and you're going to go on to the second Zoom link and be able to switch roles. And so now the other partner is going to be the RWP, okay? And so it's very important that each student must get practice on the entire process of sending sending the Zoom link, being the host, recording, all that kind of stuff. So that way you are familiar and can practice all of this with other students. So that way you're not fumbling when you actually deal with paying students who are strangers, and they're not going to give you as much grace as your fellow students inside of the academy. Okay, so make sure that every single student is getting that chance to practice. So that way both of you are understanding how the entire process works, A to Z. Okay, next up, really quickly, what I want to talk to you about is the template that you're going to be taking notes on for every single coaching call. Okay, so this is the notes for coaching call template. This is what it looks like, okay? And if you look at this, you'll see that it mimics the 6 parts that we talked about that make up every single coaching call. If you remember, in the previous training, we talked about how every single coaching call is going to be broken up into 6 parts. What's going well, challenge and obstacles, new information, experience exercise, action steps, and then insights, takeaways, or appreciations, right? So you'll see on here, boom, what's going well, challenges and obstacles, new information and exercise, which is called notes, okay? And then for the next call, boom, we got that. And so all you do is you just come over here, student name, it's the same template every single time. And you can either have this printed off or you can have an electronic copy depending on how you want to do it, right? Some people like pen and paper, some people like digital, doesn't really matter. But you say student name, you put the student name there, right? Say Yasin Arshad, okay, cool. And then this is coaching call number 3, for example. And then boom, you got your template. So you can see we're literally providing you every single thing that you need in order to be successful done for you. All you got to do is you just got to use it and you got to put in the dang work. And so that is going to be the notes for student coaching call template. And again, this is going to be linked underneath the resources for every single coaching call. So that way you can go ahead and download it, save it in the appropriate Google Drive folder, and then take it from there. Awesome. So now that is going to be step number 4, which is actually doing the practice call. Let's now go ahead and talk about step number 5, which is uploading the recording, because now the question is, what are you going to do with the recording? So exactly the same way that you did everything inside of the skill session, we're going to do exactly the same thing. After you end the Zoom meeting, the recording is going to process in the background. Again, just like we did in the skill session, you don't have to wait for the recording to process. It's going to process in the background, and then you can just hop on into the next Zoom meeting. So once the recording finishes processing, you're going to just go ahead and you're going to upload into YouTube the same exact way. Don't worry, it's not going to be public. Same thing, it's going to be private, okay? Now, I am going to go ahead and skip over to another quick mini training that is going to be the same mini training from the skill session. So if you see any mention of skill session or anything like that, you'll understand why. However, it is going to be important for you to be familiar with this. If you need to verify your YouTube account for whatever reason, all of that is going to be covered in here. Again, if you want to skip ahead, do not skip too many minutes ahead inside of this training, because there are important subtleties that I'm going to talk about right after this mini training. So make sure that you go ahead and catch up right after this next mini training. So let's go ahead and hop over to that now. All right. Welcome to this quick mini training about how to actually upload your Zoom recording to YouTube. And so we're going to go ahead and go through this step by step so that way you understand exactly how to do this. Number 1, already have a Gmail. So you want to make sure that if you already have a Gmail, like we already recommended in module 1, then guess what's going to happen? You already have a YouTube account, and you can actually go ahead and switch between your different YouTube accounts and Gmails and all that kind of stuff by actually using this right here. So on youtube.com, you'll notice that my youtube.com might look a little bit different because I am anti-distraction. So I am using Newsfeed Eradicator to make sure I don't have anything on here that distracts me. But besides the point is, when you actually go to youtube.com, you will actually be able to click on your profile picture, and then there is going to be an option there that does say switch account if you do need to actually go ahead and switch accounts. Okay, now step number 2 is you do want to go ahead and verify your YouTube account if you haven't done so already, because if your account is not verified, you will be unable to upload videos that are longer than 15 minutes long. Okay, so how are you going to do that? Inside of the guide, there is a link to a help doc from Google that goes ahead and helps you actually verify your account. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and you'll see on here, verify your YouTube account. So what you do is you just click on this link right here, and then what's going to do is going to ask you to enter in your phone number, and it's going to send you a text message or a voice call in order to actually go ahead and verify your YouTube account. Again, remember, if you do have a Gmail, then you already have a YouTube account. All you got to do is verify it. Now, it might already be verified if you've had your Gmail for a long time, but you want to double check, okay? They also have a very nice YouTube video on here on how to verify your account on YouTube. And then on top of that, they have a lot of Q&A on here as well, specifically around how to verify your account, because once your account is verified, verified, you can then actually upload videos that are longer than 15 minutes and, do all this other stuff. Okay, so that's going to be very important as step number 2 for you to go ahead and actually verify your YouTube account. Okay, now then we're going to go into step number 3, and step number 3 is we're going to go ahead and actually upload our file. So once our YouTube account is verified, we're going to select the plus button and drag the MP4 Zoom recording in order to upload it. So I go back over here to YouTube, and then you're going to see that at the very top right here, there is a plus button. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that, right? And then I'm going to click on upload video. And then right here, it's going to go ahead and open up a screen for me to go ahead and actually upload the video file. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to upload my MP4 file. Now, what is MP4? MP4 is just a format of a video, and video files have many different formats. MP4 is just one of those formats, okay? And so what you got to do is, if you have difficulty finding where your Zoom recording is, you want to look at the local recording computer location from the Zoom tutorial in the previous steps, okay? So we talked about where to find your Zoom recording there, but I'm going to go ahead and just pull up an example, okay? Now, I do have a Mac, I have an Apple computer, so this might look different for you if you have a Windows, but let me show you what this is going to look like. So I got my Zoom folder here. Here is a recording, okay? So here's just a recording I have on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag from there into the YouTube player right here. Now, alternatively, I could go ahead and just hit select files, and then there is going to be a way for me to go ahead and upload the files from there, okay? But for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and drag it. So boom, I go ahead and drag it. And then from there, what it's going to go ahead and do is it's going to go ahead and it's going to go ahead and upload. Okay, so that was a pretty quick upload because it's just an example. In your case, if the file is larger, it might take a little bit while to upload. Okay, so mine's uploaded very quickly. And then you're going to see that it's going to ask me to name my file. It's going to have my YouTube link on here. And then you can see mine's already processed, but sometimes the processing does take a little bit longer. And so what you're going to do is you're going to step number 4, wait for the upload to complete. And then for the YouTube settings, you're going to go ahead and name it as right here. So here's the template right here. You're going to name it Yasin and Cole skill session number 1. Now, obviously don't put Yasin and Cole because your name is not Yasin and your partner's name is not Cole, or it might be, I don't know. But what you want to do is you want to put your name first, and then you want to put your partner's name, and then you want to put what skill session number it is, okay? Now, this is just an example for skill session number 1. It might not actually be skill session number 1, but you want to make sure that you go ahead and put whatever skill session number it is, okay? Very important. Then we scroll down, and we're going to go ahead and, very important, we're going to go ahead and put it's not made for kids. If you put that it's made for kids, there's all these like additional restrictions and stuff. Obviously, this video is not made for kids, and so you don't need to go through those restrictions, okay? That's going to be very important. Now, the other thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead after that and click on next. And then once we click on next, one more time, next, copyrights, video elements, next, keep going next, right here. Once we are here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to mark this as unlisted. Right here, very important. We're going to go ahead and mark this as unlisted. And so you can see here that it says anyone with the video link can watch your video. That's what we want. We don't want it to be public, because then anybody can watch it. And we don't want it to be private because then only certain people can actually watch it. We want it to be unlisted so we can actually share the link. Beautiful. So then from there, what we have next is that we are going to go ahead and copy this link. And the link that we're going to go ahead and copy is what we're going to use in the next step. So now, once the file is uploaded, it might take some time to process in the background, but once you have the link, you can go ahead and let it process in the background and the link is going to be active. Okay, so right here, you can go ahead and click on this copy button right here. And when you click on that, it is going to go ahead and give you your link. Okay, so that's the link right there. You have your link now. You can go ahead and click on save. Make sure you click on save. Very, very, very important. And then once you click on save, you can then go ahead and continue using that link and use it for the other steps. Now, a couple other points on here. Let me hit save. Let me show you in case you missed out. Again, you can copy the link there. But let's say, for example, you are on youtube.com and you're like, oh man, I totally lost my link. I don't know where to find it. What you do is you click on your profile icon at the top right, and then you go over to YouTube Studio. Okay, so you go over to YouTube Studio. So click on your profile icon, you go over to YouTube Studio, and then once you click on YouTube Studio, it's going to show you all of the videos that you have uploaded, and then you can copy the link from there, okay? So very, very, very important. Remember, each student is responsible for their own recording, and each student is going to have to go through this entire process, okay? So make sure you go ahead and are familiar with that. Remember, I know for some of you, this is going to be new, but remember, this is a skill that you are learning that is going to serve you for the rest of your life. Welcome. You're getting your big boy and big girl pants on. You're really starting to be able to do this successfully. I'm really proud of you. You're doing amazing. And I don't mean big boy, big girl in a derogatory way or in a put down way, okay? I mean that this is actually some skills that are going to serve you for a very long time. For some of you, this is going to be normal. You already done this before. For some of you, this is going to be brand new. Stick with it. You're going to do amazing. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and hop back over to the main training so we can go ahead and continue with the steps. All right, welcome back from that quick mini training about how to upload your practice calls to YouTube. Again, same mini training from the skills session. You should already be familiar with it, but just wanted to put it in there for reference just in case. And so ultimately that is now going to be step number 5, which is all about uploading your recording, your Zoom recording onto YouTube and learning how to be able to do all of that. With that being said, we're now going to go ahead and go over to step number 6. You're doing great. Stick with me here. We're chugging along here so that way you are familiar with this. Step number 6 is also something you are familiar with, which is submitting the recording and takeaways, okay? What you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing exactly the same thing that you did for skills session in the previous module, but this time you're going to be doing it for the coaching call. So how did the call go? Was it like practicing the coaching call? What did you learn? What are your thoughts? You're going to make sure that you do that. And in the same way where you said, hey, here is my skills session, you're going to instead say, here is my coaching call, my practice call, coaching call number 1 with tag the person, YouTube link, and then you're going to have your takeaways there, okay? So remember, your comment does not have to follow this format. It's just an example, but I would urge you to really expand on this. Don't just put a couple words, a couple sentences, really expand so that way you are able to cement your thoughts on what you got out of the coaching call, as well as providing us feedback so we can see what was most important to you from that specific activity, okay? And then obviously, are you scared to post in the student community at this point? Probably not. But congrats, even if you are growing, and we're going to talk more about that here in a little bit as well. So now, just as a reminder, I want to go ahead and emphasize this a gazillion and 2 times. I told you by the end of this training, it's going to be literally tattooed into your brain, is that what you are going to be doing is that you are going to be posting the practice call recording for every single coaching call on its own student community post. So once you actually complete your recording and your practice call for coaching call number 1, the coaching call number 1 recording and the link and the takeaways is going to be posted on the coaching call number 1 student community post. Coaching call number 2 recording and takeaways posted on the coaching call number 2 student community post. Okay, so that's how it's going to work, so on and so forth. And so just to be clear, what's going to happen is that on the student community posts for these calls, okay, for coaching call 1, you're going to be posting your availability. You can post any questions that you have about coaching call number 1 on that post as well. And you can post your recording and your takeaways. But then for coaching call number 2 post, you notice there is no availability. You're only posting questions that you have specifically to coaching call number 2, and you're posting your recording and takeaways for coaching call number 2. Why don't you post your availability? Because you have the same partner from coaching call 1 for 1, 2, and 3. But then you'll notice coaching call number 4, you post your availability again, and then you post any questions that you might have, and then your recordings and takeaways from coaching call number 4. But then you work with the same student for 5 and 6. And then coaching call number 7, availability, because you're getting a new partner, but then you work with the same partner for 7, 8, and 9. And then again, 10, you post your availability, same partner for 11 and 12. And then strategy session, you're going to post your availability, and then you're going to be posting any questions and recordings and takeaways specific to your strategy session. And so yes, you are going to be having 5 partners total. Coaching calls 1, 2, 3, partner number 1, 4, 5, 6, partner number 2, 7, 8, 9, partner number 3, 10, 11, 12, partner number 4, and then partner number 5 is your strategy session. Again, I told you, this is literally going to be the nail in the coffin over and over and over again because I don't want any student to mess this up. This is very important. Same partner, switch every 3 calls, and then strategy session. That's how it is going to work, okay? Boom. That is now step number 6. We're now going to go ahead and talk about step number 7, which is marking action steps as complete. This is straightforward. You're just going to go ahead and go to that coaching call that you had, the coaching call training. Make sure you go ahead and knock the action steps out, mark them as complete so that way you have the points as well as your coach knows that you completed them. Okay, beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and switch over, and this is going to be significantly different going forward now compared to the skill session, which is going to be step number 8, which is step number 8 is that we are now going to repeat steps 4, 5, 6, and 7 for all 3 calls. Okay, so once we get our partner, Boom, we've gone ahead and completed this. We're going to repeat doing all 3 calls, doing the practice call, uploading the recording, submitting the recording takeaways, and marking the action steps as complete. These steps we're going to repeat for all 3 calls, and then we're going to go ahead and then do our availability again. I told you, we're going back to that again and again and again. I'm saying it again and again and again a gazillion times until you understand it, okay? That is what we're talking about. Repeat steps 4, 5, 6, and 7 for all 3 calls. Why am I repeating it again? Because I know that humans need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And my experience as an educator and providing transformation has been that there are some students who just need it over and over and over again. So again, you're going to be repeating these steps, and then you're going to switch from your partner. Okay, so that is going to be step number 8. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a really big step that is very different from skill session, which is step number 9. And step number 9 is going to all be about exchanging thank you videos after 3 calls. So after you complete 3 calls with your partner, you are going to exchange thank you videos. Now, this is going to be where you need to pay attention, because this is very different than the skill session, which is that, like I said, after you've completed 3 practice calls with your partner, before you move on to a new partner, you are going to exchange a thank you video. Wait a second. What in the world is a thank you video? Great question. A thank you video is a short 1 to 2 minute video where you are thanking the person for working with you. Coach Yasin, this sounds like a testimonial. Is that a testimonial? I don't want to do a testimonial. Hold on. Let me explain for just a second, okay? The reason we don't call this a testimonial is because many beginner students have a negative understanding of what a testimonial is. Many people who don't understand think, well, you know what? I take my word very seriously, and I don't want to lie to anybody. And so when I give a testimonial, that means that I might be lying, right? Because what I'm going to be saying when I give a testimonial is that this person must be an amazing RWP, right? And so what if I don't know if they're an amazing RWP from just 3 calls with them? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is why we don't call it a testimonial, because unfortunately beginner students have this type of process because they're in such scarcity mindset about thanking other people that they don't even want to be able to thank somebody else, because they think it means that you have to nominate them for being the president of the universe. And so instead of calling it a testimonial, we call it a thank you video. Why? Because the thank you video is exactly what it sounds like. It's just thanking your fellow student for being a partner with you. These thank you videos are so very, see how many varies and so many so's there were? So powerful for you and your partner's confidence when starting out. And to prove this, let me go ahead and tell you a quick story. When we first started our remote wellness practice and business coaching, we were so hesitant and so scared. This was years ago. We were like imposter syndrome to the max, right? We didn't know if we could actually help people or what we were actually offering was valuable. So what did we decide to do instead? What we did was we offered a free 1-hour coaching call. And then at the end of that coaching call that was free, we would ask the person for a thank you video about their experience from that one free call that they had. That's it. Just that one free call. Just your experience from that call alone. And what happened? In the span of 1 week, we were able to go ahead and get dozens and dozens of thank you videos just by getting feedback from people on that 1-hour coaching call that we gave away for free. And what do you think that did for our confidence? We saved those, and in the beginning of our journey, every time we felt down, we felt scared, we felt fearful, or that we had imposter syndrome or anything like that, what we would do is we would just go ahead and pull it up, and we would listen and watch those thank you videos, and those thank you videos would give us so much confidence. Honestly, without those thank you videos in the beginning, when we started, right? I'm talking about when you're just an absolute beginner. You're a complete newbie. You're just getting started. You're just trying to get a little bit of momentum. When we started, if we had not had those thank you videos, I'm telling you right now, we would not have had the confidence or the certainty that we have years later to get to where we are now. Because especially when you are a seeker, you are a starter, you are a newbie, you are a beginner, you are looking for any bit of psychological help in order for you to go ahead and keep on going. Because when you are starting out, there is so much doubt, there is so much fear. And so this is what changes that tide for you, is when you actually have these thank you videos, and it provides for you so much support. In fact, what I'm going to do right now is inside of this training, I'm going to go ahead and play for you 2 of those thank you videos that we got all those years ago, so that way I can show you the power of them and show you really how simple they are. It's not a matter of, hey, these people are commenting on how we are literally should be nominated for being president of the universe and how we're the most amazing people ever. This is literally just people thanking us for what it is that they got out of that 1 free hour call. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead right now and cut to 2 of those short thank you videos right now, back to back. So let's go ahead and do that now.
Normally, I don't believe in doing any kind of testimonials, mainly because the people that have asked me to do them, well, let's just face it, their services have sucked, and I don't believe in compromising my character just for the sake of giving somebody a shout out. In this case, though, I feel as if an exception is warranted. So I met this dude, Muhammad Malik, and he was like, dude, look, if you want to hit me up, just let me know what's going on with you and I'll help you get on track. I figured he was going to be like every other coach who was just trying to get me to enroll in a program, bilk me for the cash, and leave me with a library full of videos. On the contrary, though, dude gives me this phone call, hour of his time, absolutely no charge. Doesn't pressure me into shit. Right after that, sends me this post that he had said worked. I was just thinking to myself, you know what, man, I've done stuff like this before and it hasn't really done anything. Put his spin on it, and within the first couple hours, I had over 12 responses. And from that, it's like, okay, you might think, oh, who gives a shit? It's only 12 responses. Whoop-de-doo. The thing is, these are quality leads we're talking here. So when you figure, if I'm doing a price point at $2K per, and let's say I do wind up closing out on 2, 3 of them, all right, we're still talking about $4,000 to $6,000 for a post. Okay, how can you get any more valuable than that? I mean, seriously, this dude is legit. So, hats off to you, brother. Cheers.
Hi everyone, Craig here from the UK. Yeah, I just want to jump on and say a massive thank you to Mohammed. Jumped on a coaching call with him earlier today and gained so much clarity. You know, we went through quite a bit together, and there's 3 things that really stuck in my mind, that stuck in my head, that I implemented on my 2 sales calls I had today, and I closed both of them. Closed both the calls, one within 20 minutes, one within 25 minutes, just through things I implemented at the beginning of the call. And yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you, and just, it's something that I haven't used before. I've worked with 3 mentors before, wasn't shown this, and yeah, thanks a lot, Mohammed. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, welcome back. So do you see now? Do you see how very simple those thank you videos are, right? And so I want to ask you a question. Did those thank you videos say anything like, wow, you know, Muhammad is the most amazing person on the planet of all time, and he should be president of the universe because I've joined his program and I've listened to him and I've been a fan of his for 10 years now, and now I can talk on his credibility and his integrity, and this is why I am specifically able to talk about that? Or are those thank you videos saying, hey, I had a 1-hour call with this person and blank, these were the things that I got out of this call with this person, and so just a massive thank you to him? Why are they so simple? Because when you have partnered with your partner in Module 5 for just a few coaching calls, there has to be something good that you can say about them, right? It doesn't matter even if they were the most terrible partner on the planet. Well, guess what? You're practicing reframing and reshifting and perspective, because there has to be something that they did good, right? Hopefully, yes, of course there is. And so you are not thanking them or commenting on all of their performance for the history of their life and writing a biography about them to say, oh yeah, I can vouch for this person, he's a good person. No, you're only relying on your experience in the 3 calls that you had with them and just commenting and thanking them for what it is that they did good inside of those 3 calls. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we call it a thank you video instead of a testimonial. Does that make sense? Now, just a very important note on this is that when you do get these thank you videos from your fellow students, they are not meant to be used publicly. I want to make this extremely clear, okay? These are only for your own confidence. And then in the future, if you decided that you did want to go ahead and use them publicly, you will need to exchange permission with your partner. So I want to make sure very clear that there is no shady business going on here. When you get a thank you video from your fellow student, it is not yet permission, if they do not consent to it, to be playing those things publicly, okay? I'm telling you that 100% right now. In Module 6, you will be able to get thank you videos and testimonials from other practice clients, from other students, XYZ, if you want to go ahead and display those publicly. For right now, these are only for your own confidence. I want to make that 100% clear right now. Now, having said that, I do want to go ahead and make a quick commentary about why exchanging thank you videos is so important. Because if you don't understand why it's so important, you're not going to put as much emphasis and importance on it. Okay, so there are many reasons why having you and your partner exchange thank you videos, regardless if they are going to be used publicly in the future or not, is so absolutely critical. Number one, it builds up your confidence as an RWP in order to have a physical asset, something that is a physical representation of someone thanking you. Okay, number two, it builds up your habit of giving thank you videos so you can get out of the dang scarcity mindset that you might be in, okay? Number three, it allows you to feel more credible as well, okay? And many, many, many other benefits. And so this thank you video that you exchange with your fellow student is going to be so powerful, and I'm telling you right now, it is going to radically transform your confidence and your partner's confidence throughout this program. And the cool part, you're going to be partnering with 4 total students for the practice coaching calls. Yes, you're going to have 5 students, but you're not really going to have a thank you video for the strategy session, okay? You're going to be partnering with 4 total students for the practice coaching calls. And so by the end of Module 5, you will have 4 thank you videos that will allow you to build up your confidence like nothing before. Now, if you feel that you're like, you know what, I don't really want to give a thank you video to my partner, I would urge you to ask yourself why. And this is a quote that I really love, which is that you will get in life whatever you want if you help more people get what they want. And so the concept here is to be in reciprocity, is to be in abundance, to give first. This happens in every relationship in your life. Every relationship that you have in your life, when you give first without the expectation of reciprocity, your life will get better. Why? Because giving changes you. If you feel like you are always operating from a place of scarcity, it's because you don't give, because you are operating from a place of fear. And so if you give, no matter how little you have, it automatically means that you are abundant because you can only give if you have enough. And so the only way to have enough is to be able to give in some way. And then here's the cool part. When you give without the expectation of reciprocity, people feel indebted to you. And so therefore they're going to want to help you. That is how it works. And that is why giving a thank you video is going to help both you and your partner, and why it is so absolutely important. Okay. Now, at this point, you might be saying, okay, Coach Yasin, fine. I'll do the thank you video testimonial for my fellow student. But what do I do with it when I actually get it? Like, what's the point of it? Okay. How do I actually use this asset that I'm going to have in order to better myself? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I want to go ahead and introduce you to the concept of a student wins group. Have you ever heard of something called a praise file? The idea is simple. A praise file is basically a file, digital or physical, where you record and collect all of the best, nicest things that people have ever said to you or about you. Okay. And so what you do is you gather all of this praise into one single place. That's a very easy place to access. And then whenever you need a boost, you read it. Now, this might sound weird. And initially, the idea might even sound self-righteous or conceited or arrogant. And you might even cringe at the idea of like having this asset and this place that you have all of this praise that's for you, right? It's like, hey, man, I must be so full of myself. Well, hear me out for a second. Trust me when I say this. When you are starting out as a beginner in anything, the idea of a praise file is the biggest game changer that you will ever come across. And the cool part about this, what's the equivalent of a praise file in business and income? Well, that is what we call a student wins group. A student wins group is basically a group that you create with yourself initially, and then eventually you create it with your entire team. And what you do is inside of this group, you collect all of the best, nicest things that students have ever said to you, to your company, about you, or about your company. And this is literally videos, screenshots, images, comments. It does not matter what the heck it is. It doesn't matter what it is, okay? Because you just keep on putting that into your student wins group. And so this idea of a student wins group is going to give you so much momentum because you will have a place to go to have proof that what it is that you are doing is actually working. Even if you never go back and look at the actual praise file group, the student wins group, right? Just the fact that it exists and that you are adding to it regularly, that in and of itself is going to make a massive difference. And so let me be clear 100,000% about this. If you actually take action on this, I am telling you right now, this single concept is going to completely transform your life, your income, and your business, period. Especially when you are starting out in anything. And so I'm going to say this again, 1,000,000,000%. When starting out in this career, this single concept of a student wins group is going to completely transform your life, your business, and your income, period. And at first, you're only going to be able to add to it weekly or monthly, right? You're going to be able to have your thank you video, you put it in there, right? But here's the thing, as you get more and more momentum, you are going to be able to start adding to it eventually a couple times a week and then daily. And so just as an example, inside of RWA, Remote Wellness Academy, us as an organization, we've actually been doing this from the very get-go from our business. I've always done this in every business I had, even if it was only me operating the business. From the very beginning, I created a student wins group. And so we here at RWA are at the point where we are adding to our student wins group daily. And not just once, our student wins group, we actually have a team member who is dedicated, assigned. We have an entire team member whose responsibility is to add student wins into this group. And so we get 5 to 7 new screenshot wins coming from students every single day. Can you imagine how much momentum and conviction that this gives every single person on our team? We wake up every single day knowing that we are impacting the lives of our students. And when we are in doubt, we literally have an entire group of hundreds of screenshots, videos, images, and comments to look back at that we know that what we are doing is working. And so in the beginning, you might only have one thing in there. You might only have 2 things in there. But guess what? You just repeat it over and over and over again. It doesn't matter how long ago that win was. It doesn't matter how little that win is. It doesn't matter. You just repeat it over and over and over again. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and walk you through how to actually create your praise file and student wins group. So that way you can actually start using it inside here in module 5, and that way you can go ahead and set yourself up for success. So how to create your praise file student wins group. Okay, so step number 1 is you're going to go ahead and download either WhatsApp or Telegram. Okay, now if you do not have either downloaded, we do recommend starting with Telegram because you can use it with your team later on. That is the one that we recommend if you don't have either of them set up. Okay, but if you already have WhatsApp and you already use WhatsApp, then you can go ahead and start with WhatsApp for now. It's not a big deal. Okay, now why no iMessage on there? As far as we know, there is no other platform other than WhatsApp and Telegram that allows you to be able to make a group and have a title for that group, right? If you do find one, let us know. At this point, because we are such a big organization, we actually use Slack. We don't use Telegram anymore for our communication. And so we have a Slack channel that we actually use, but you're probably not at that point right now. If obviously you do have a Slack channel, you can use Slack, but we would recommend if you're not using WhatsApp or Telegram or Slack, we would recommend starting with Telegram because that's going to be the platform that you can use with your small team in the future. Then after you have step 1 done, step 2 is you're going to go ahead and create a group on WhatsApp or Telegram, whatever one you use, with yourself and with someone else. Now, someone else could be a spouse, it could be a family member, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be your neighbor. It doesn't matter because you're going to delete them in just a second. And then you're going to name this group Student Wins. And then once the group is made, you're going to then remove the other person. And so now you have a group with only yourself in it. Okay. And so that is the 4 steps on how to actually create your praise file or student wins group. Okay. And then what you're going to do is step number 5 is that you are going to add obsessively to this student wins group. Every time you notice even the smallest evidence that you are becoming an awesome RWP, you're going to add to this group. I'm talking about even the smallest, tiniest thing. Just as an example, when I was starting out, if someone said on a Zoom call, just a random Zoom call, right? Maybe they weren't even my student. Maybe they weren't even my client. It doesn't matter who it was, right? It was literally sometimes even just my parents, just my friends, just my siblings. It doesn't matter who it was, okay? Is that even if somebody made a passing comment of, oh, that is helpful, I would go ahead and literally go to that video recording. I would cut that part out and I would put that into my praise file and look at it every single day, right? Text messages that I got, whatever it was, I would add that into my praise file because like I said earlier, when you are starting out and you are starting out as a beginner, you are literally starting out as a complete newbie, you are literally just a seeker, a starter, you got no traction, you're just going, right? You need the smallest things that are going to allow you to build up your confidence. And this is the tool. When people say, hey, build up your confidence, build up your certainty, build up all of this stuff, right? How do you actually do it? Nobody actually gives you the strategy on how to do it. This is the strategy. This is what you are learning. And this not only applies to business. I'm talking about if you're struggling with, personal development, you're struggling with public speaking, whatever it is to build yourself up, right? Sometimes some people have been beaten down for so many years that they haven't been able to build themselves up. For those people on an individual and personal level, they can create that group that say, hey, maybe I'm not in business. I just want to go ahead and have a praise file. And that praise file is me building myself up. So that way I can not only have self-esteem, self-integrity, clarity, self-confidence, but also I can get to the point I have certainty that I believe that I am worthy of being able to do the things that I want in my life, right? And how do you do that? The tool for that is the praise file. And from a business context, we call it the Student Wins group. Same exact concept. One is on the individual level praise file, and one is on the enterprise professional level, which is the Student Wins group. And so I'm not joking when I say, hey, you can even go back and take your skill sessions and you can literally start adding your skill sessions into this as well, because it's proof. Your skill sessions are recorded physical proof. And the reason why you put them into the group is because of the fact that it's easy for you to be able to access the group, right? It's just a WhatsApp or Telegram group, right? Versus if it's a YouTube link and you got to go to the student community, find the link, or on YouTube or whatever. But once it's actually there, you have a physical place that, yo, I am actually making progress. This is something that I'm actually getting better at. Look at me. I got on a call and did 4 skill sessions and look at me go. That's what I did right there. And so this is the value of what is the tool that I'm showing you how to put together inside of this training and what you are going to be utilizing inside of Module 5. Because what's going to happen is that when you start to notice even the smallest things that you are making improvement on, what you are going to be doing is you are going to be starting what we call the praise/student wins confirmation cycle. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how you hijack your brain, how you hack your brain to be able to focus on the positive. Because what happens is that as you add more to this group that you just created, your RAS, your reticular activating system, gets activated. And so just like you would notice more red cars, what you are going to is that you're going to notice more and more and more things that you are doing well. And so visually, this is what it looks like, right? We talked about the reticular activating system, is that the student wins confirmation cycle is that you add even the smallest, tiniest, microscopic student win, right? It doesn't matter what it is. And by default, by you doing that, you're automatically going to start noticing more student wins. You're going to all of a sudden start noticing more things that you're doing well as a remote wellness practitioner. And guess what? That is now going to feed your group even more, because as you're noticing more and you have the habit of actually adding them more in there, so you're adding them more, and then the more you add, you notice them even more. And then on the individual level, as you add to the praise file, okay, you even add the smallest, microscopic, tiniest thing into the praise file. Well, guess what? Your RAS has now gotten primed to notice things that you are doing well. You're starting to notice the things that you are actually worthy of, right? And so all of a sudden you notice even more praise. Hey, I am actually a credible human being. Hey, I am actually a worthy human being. Hey, I'm actually not a terrible scum of the earth that people have told me in my head that I am. Because unfortunately, the truth is that every student is coming from a different background. And unfortunately, there are people that are toxic individuals in different students' lives that have actually beaten them down and have gotten all of this toxic negativity into their head. And so now they themselves talk to themselves in that negative tone. And so when you are building yourself up on the individual level, you utilize this praise file, and then all of a sudden you notice that, hey, I'm actually doing better. I can actually get all of these toxic thoughts that is somebody else's negativity that has been put into my mind. I can actually get rid of it. I'm taking that trash out and I'm doing it via the tool of the praise file. Because when I notice more praise, guess what? I add more to the praise file, WhatsApp or Telegram group. And then when I add more to it, I notice even more. And then that is how you start this feedback loop, and it gets more and more and more and more and more. And so this is how you hijack your brain in order to be able to force yourself to build confidence. And then eventually, as you have 5, 10, 15, 30, 50 pieces of content, video, images, screenshots, comments inside of this group that you have created, what happens is that your certainty about yourself, about your company, about your product, about what it is that you are doing goes from just being a belief, right? It starts off and you're like, what does it matter? It's the tiniest microscopic thing. Well, it starts off as just a belief, and then over time, that certainty becomes a fact. Why? Because you have an entire freaking group of assets, of videos, of comments, of screenshots telling you that you are an awesome remote wellness practitioner. And guess what? At a certain point, there's only so much evidence that your brain needs until it becomes a fact that you actually are. Pretty cool, right? So just remember, I'm going to say this very clearly, is that yes, it sounds simple, but remember there's a difference between easy versus hard, simple versus complex. Simple does not mean easy. The challenge is in actually using it. And so yes, I know it just takes extra 5 seconds of work to actually post in it daily or weekly, right? Go to your skill session after this training. Once you create the group, actually start putting from the skill session. You can even cut it. If you don't know how to cut it, Google, hey, how to cut an image, right? How to be able to do that. Literally start putting into that group, and over time, you're going to have more and more confidence. Now, real quick, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I do want to go ahead and walk you through, now that you understand the importance of why the thank you videos are so important, and now that you're actually going to be using them inside of your Student Wins group so that way you can get that cycle started. Well, how are you actually going to do it with your practice calls? Let me go ahead and show you this. Is that at the end of calls 3, 6, 9, and 12, okay? So this is going to be the final call that you have with your partner, right? Partner number 1, the final time I get to chat with my partner number 1 for the practice calls is going to be coaching call number 3. Partner number 2, last time I talked to them, is coaching call number 6, coaching call number 9 for partner number 3, and then partner number 4 is coaching call 12. On these calls, what you are going to do before you actually close out with that specific student, you're going to follow these steps. Before switching links and moving to partner number 2, while still on the meeting together, right? Partner number 1, what they're going to do in those calls, before switching links, they're on the meeting together, they're going to end their recording and start a new recording. Not end the meeting, new recording, and then you're going to follow these guidelines, okay? And so these guidelines is just a simple script that we've gone ahead and provided for you guys. Hey, RWP says, all right, well, I'm here with Cole. Cole, if you could please just introduce yourself. Cole says, hey, my name is Cole from, Canada, because apparently Canada is just one whole place, not even BC, just Canada, right? No, I'm joking. Okay, so he says, hey, my name is Cole. I'm from, British Columbia, whatever. Awesome. So what are some things, and this is the question, what are some things that you noticed that I did well over the last few coaching calls? Partner response, RWP says, what did you love most about the last few coaching calls that we did together when I was coaching? Again, fuel for the fire, right? Cole, he responds, RWP says, during the calls that I was coaching, what did you learn from the time that we spent together and what was most helpful? Again, the partner is going to respond at that time. Now, a quick note on this is that these are only guidelines. You do not have to follow this exact template. Don't be a remote control student who wants to be spoon-fed. Be resourceful. If you want to change things up, you're more than welcome to. But this is a very solid template. If you want to go ahead and use it, you're more than welcome to. But basically, you can go ahead and tweak it to whatever it is that you want to hear that is going to be beneficial for you in your Student Wins group, right? This is the time. Be transparent with your partners. Like, yo, I'm really struggling with the fact that I don't think I'm very good at speaking. Like, I mumble over my words. Can you just please say something good about the fact that maybe I don't do that, right? And so all of a sudden you now have a recording from another person who has been with you for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours through these coaching calls in order to actually tell them that, hey, that terrible thought that you have about yourself? It's not that bad. And here's somebody else telling you that in a recorded format, so that way you can actually repeat it to yourself over and over and over again and rewire your brain and actually build up your confidence until it becomes a fact, okay? That is going to be step 3. And then step 4, you're going to end the recording. You're going to switch Zoom links. Partner number 2 is going to do their practice call. That is going to happen at that final call. And then at the end of partner number 2's practice call, they're going to repeat these steps so that way they can get their video, their thank you video. And then they're going to go ahead and after you guys have your thank you video, you're going to take that video and you're going to go ahead and put it into your WhatsApp or Telegram group so that way it lives there and you can go ahead and repeat it. Remember, this is only for calls 3, 6, 9, and 12 because that is the last call that you have with that partner. Make sense? Awesome. Let us know if you have any questions. Like I said, this was a big change compared to the skill session, but man, that was quite a bit of detail, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure we hit that because this is a foundational piece of your entire career as a remote wellness practitioner. I know I took the time inside of this training to really explain it in depth, but the reason I wanted to do that was because I really wanted to go ahead and hit this home for you because it is going to be a tool that you use not only in Module 5, in Module 6, but really going forward in your entire career. And that's why I wanted to go ahead and include the entire tutorial for that inside of this training. Let's go ahead and speed up here a little bit more so we can go ahead and close out this training here. Finally, we have step number 10, which is partner with a new student for the next 3 calls. At this point, you're like, man, I get it, Coach Yasin. Okay, cool. Well, let me just go ahead and emphasize that again. You're going to be doing 3 calls with the partner. Then on coaching call number 4, you're going to go ahead and comment your availability, get another partner. Coaching call number 7, get another partner. Coaching call number 10, get another partner. Strategy session, get another partner. That is going to be how it works, and you're going to be repeating these steps with every single one of those new partners. Okay, so let us know if you have any questions about that. And so boom, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the 10 steps of how you complete the practice call. So yes, you are learning many skills while doing this. It's not only about practicing the skills related to the coaching call skills or the practice calls. This is going to allow you to learn the technology side, learn the networking side, as well as the skill of actually doing these practice calls. For some of you, this is going to feel completely new. For others of you, it's going to feel a little bit more familiar, but it does not matter because the point is that you are just practicing the skill of how to be able to deliver these coaching calls. Because remember, skill equals knowledge times reps. The trainings inside of this module are going to give you the knowledge, but you need the reps so that way you're actually having the skill of delivering these coaching calls. So again, let us know if you have any questions about this. All right. Now, as we start to go ahead and close out this training, I do want to go ahead and hit really, really quickly on limiting beliefs when it comes to practice calls, because some students who wear the failure uniform might think, wow, Coach Yasin, so you're telling me I had to do all of those skill sessions and now I got to sit here and do all of these practice calls. Is this really all worth it? Is there no easier way? Is this really worth my time? Or a student who might wear the failure uniform might say, after doing the skill sessions and all of these calls, I'm starting to realize that I don't like to talk to people. I'm not good at this. This doesn't go with my personality. I don't think remote wellness is for me. I can't do this. Well, here's what I have to say to those students who wear the failure uniform. Those students who think or say these things have no idea what they are talking about. I'm sorry to say, but those students who wear the failure uniform will never be successful making their dreams come true because their entire mindset is upside down. Why? Because students who wear the failure uniform continue to suffer from shiny object syndrome and the grass is greener on the other side over and over and over again. They simply do not want to put in the work, period. They don't realize that the grass is greener wherever you water it. Wherever you put in the work, that is going to be where the grass will be greener. No matter what you do, you will have to put in the work. No matter what any guru tries to sell you, the truth is that it all requires work. Work is what allows you to get better, okay? Because if you want to succeed, one day you are going to have to look in the mirror and you are going to have to finally admit the reason that I am not where I want to be in life is because I am simply not good enough. The reason that I don't have the income that I want to make right now is simply because I am not good enough. Now, wait a second. Does that mean that all of a sudden we stop right there and we abuse ourselves and declare ourselves broken? No, we've talked about this because the truth is that there's something that you have to add to the end of those sentences, is that I am not good enough yet. And that's okay because I'm going to put in the dang work to get better. I have not yet become the person that is able to effortlessly achieve my desired situation. And guess what? That's okay because I'm going to put in the work in order to become better, right? We've talked about this many times before. Your version 1.0 self is what has created every situation around you right now. The reason that you are and the reason you have the situation that you have right now is because of the version of yourself that you are right now. If you were someone else different, you would have a different situation. And so as a result, your current version 1.0 self is not yet good enough in order to actually get to the desired situation. If you want to have a different situation in life, you will have to become somebody else. If you want to have a different income in life, you will have to become someone else. And so yes, you are admitting that deficit, but guess what? That's okay because you're not there yet. You are working on putting in the work to become the version 2.0 of yourself that is going to then effortlessly be able to create that desired situation, that desired reality. And so if you don't first admit and accept that you are not good enough yet, that you are not the version of yourself that is able to effortlessly create that desired situation, then you will never actually be able to make progress, okay? Because this is so very important, is that this is how life works. You have to choose to be uncomfortable now so that way you can be comfortable later. Don't do it the other way around. If you want the rest of your life to be easy, you must be willing to be uncomfortable now so that way you can reap the rewards later. And yet, the failure uniform student might say, oh no, but you know what, Coach Yasin, other things will be easier. I'm going to try, insert whatever shiny object that they saw on the guru ad this morning, okay? Because the truth is this, the gurus all want to sell you a pipe dream that you can sit and get products from China and sit behind your computer and not show your face and make a bunch of money, or just study stock charts and make millions of dollars with your Lamborghini. The truth is that all business opportunities require work and for you to put yourself out there. But the good thing about remote wellness is number one, it's high ticket. We're not selling $5 spatulas that you got to sell 2,000 of them in order to make $10,000 a month. We're talking to just a few people who are paying us $1,200 to $3,600, okay? Number two, we're becoming a person of value. We're becoming a valuable person because this is the skill set that is going to serve you for the rest of your life because you're learning how to be able to talk to other human beings. You don't think that might be helpful for you in the world? Maybe, right? You're sharpening your ability to be a great coach and you are changing the lives of people by working with them. What could be better than that? And so yes, it is absolutely going to be worth it. I promise you, when you look back at this, you're going to see that this was the turning point in your life where you shifted and became a better version of yourself. You are going to be so happy that you did this because of the person that you became as a result of this. And so to those students who wear the failure uniform, I say, isn't it time that you did something different to finally end your shiny object syndrome and opportunity hopping and finally just put in the dang work? And so this is the process that the most successful people in the world have gone through. This is the rocky cutscene that we talk about for you to be able to push through your comfort zone and put in the work. Because you always need to remember this. If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten. If you want something that you've never had, you have to become someone you've never been, think about things the way you never have, and do things that you've never done. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Period. And so that is why I want to go ahead and urge this around any limiting beliefs that you might have. Yes, there is a lot of work that you got to put into Module 5. I'm not going to beat around the bush, but it is this work that when you learn your product, when you learn your transformation product, when you actually learn how to put in this work, when you learn how to actually deliver your coaching calls, well, guess what? You're putting in the work that is going to serve you for so many years and decades into the future. And this is where it starts here in Module 5. Okay, so at the end of the day, I know I'm talking very kind of strongly to those students who might be having limiting beliefs about this, but really, at the end of the day, if you're still struggling, if you're still scared, if you're still worried, talk to us. We're here to support you. We're here for you, right? Don't worry, even though sometimes, I talk about students who wear the failure uniform. The truth is that it only applies to those who get stuck and continue to stay stuck, right? You might actually be a winner student who's just stuck and just needs help. And so don't feel bad if you have some of these beliefs, because that's why we're here for you. This is why we're here to support you and coach you every step of the way. So just reach out to us, talk to us. If there's anything that might be going on, we are here for you, okay? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, man, this was a doozy one, huh? How to do practice calls, step-by-step instructions. We're going to go ahead and close out this training by going ahead and talking about your action steps. Now, there are going to be quite a few action steps here because there was a lot of action that we want to go ahead and take so that we are prepared for the rest of this module. So action step number 1 is going to be for you to watch and study this training in full. Action step number 2 is to go ahead and make sure you create your Google Drive folders according to the mini training that talks to you about the organization of the Google Drive structure. Action step number 3 is going to be make sure that you go ahead and sign and submit the Module 5 student licensing agreement that's going to be available for you, and the link is going to be there for you. Number 4, you want to go ahead and upgrade your Zoom account following the steps that we talked about. Number 5 is going to be go ahead and create your Student Wins group using the steps that we talked about as well. Now, this is not an action step, but you will get bonus points for going out and actually going through your skill session and actually adding to your Students Wins group, okay? So I'm telling you, like we talked about inside of the training, that small, tiny little thing that you go ahead and start the cycle with, it's going to help if you just go back and, hey, look at your skill session and say, yo, this was very helpful. This showed that I was actually doing something. So now you have these assets that prove to you like, wait a second, that's actually me. This is something that is live on the internet that is showing me actually crushing it. And so even if it's not necessarily you doing amazing, it's something small, which is getting that process started. So regardless if you actually decide you want to cut it or crop the video or whatever, just putting that into your Student Wins group is going to be so helpful. So that is action step number 5. Action step number 6 is make sure that you understand the exchanging of the thank you videos at the end of your 3 calls with your partner and how to do it. Action step number 7, understanding the student community post and how that applies and what calls that applies to XYZ. And then action step number 8, understanding the DM and the scheduling, being professional, respectful, all that kind of stuff. Action step number 9, understanding how to record on Zoom and how to download it afterwards. And then finally, action step 10 is understanding how to upload the Zoom recording to YouTube, okay? So make sure that you go ahead and get those action steps done. That is going to go ahead and set you up for all of the practice calls. You have the foundation in place so that way you can be successful for the rest of this entire module. This was a jam-packed one. I'm super excited for you to go ahead and hop into your first coaching call practice, get your feet wet, and absolutely start crushing it, because this is 100% an investment in your career and in your remote wellness practice for a very long time coming. So I'm super excited for you. This is Coach Yasin checking out, and I will catch you inside of the next training.